Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you today. We have been working on this Bally Lost World that most people would have thought was a lost cause, but we've been slowly fixing it up and filming videos of it. The first video we worked on the power supply, the rectifier board and the transformer, and we stripped down the playfield. And then the second video we repainted the playfield and repopulated it. Got it looking decent. It's nice and presentable now, playfield wise, but the game doesn't have any of the boards up and running or anything in it. So today we are going to be working on getting the board sets working. So let's look in the back box. I'm gonna go through them kind of quick because I want to get them all done on one video. What do you think about that? So this is the rectifier board, which we worked on last time. If you go back and watch the first video, you'll see that. So next it sends the power up to the solenoid driver board. So we're going to pull that out and work on it next. So I'll pull it out and put it on the bench and show you what we do to them and then run through it real quick. After that we're going to work on the MPU. This is the lamp driver board. And then we need a set of 5 displays. Oh, that might be the tough part. So I'll pull out the solenoid driver board and we'll see what we can do there. So here is our solenoid board. This one looks very nice. It's very clean. It's in very good shape. So we're going to replace the filter capacitor. We're going to reflow all of the connectors. I'm going to use my multimeter to check all of the transistors down here to make sure none of them are burnt up, which would cause a coil to lock on, or that are open, which would cause a coil not to work. And then we're going to do a couple little ground upgrades. We got all of our information about the upgrades and stuff to do from pinrepair.com, Clay's guide that's been out there for years and years and years about how to do it to it. So we'll get started on this one. And this board basically takes the 12 volts from the rectifier board and it turns it into 5 volts, which it uses to, which all the other boards use to run. And then it also, of course, these chips use the 5 volts to run as well. And then the it also takes in the display voltage and turns it into basically a lower voltage, a regulated voltage in this area that it sends out to run the displays. Now I believe we're probably going to end up putting LED displays in this, so we won't need this part. But I'm going to fix it and check it, make sure it works anyways, just in case somebody wants to put the original displays in it down the road. So I'll work through it and then we'll see what it looks like. So the upgrades we always do on the back is this is the ground for the filter cap. Instead of it just going out this one pin over here, we tie it to the rest of the grounds. Right? You can just put a little jumper to that trace under it. And then this one up here, this big cap, is the display filter cap. And so we tie the ground on it to the main grounds as well. It's the same deal basically. And then we tie test point 1, that bottom one there, to test point 3. And the reason you do that is because there's this weird little design thing where it sends the 5 volts out one of the pins and then through a little pigtail back into another pin to run these chips. So this creates the 5 volts, but it doesn't send it directly to these. It sends it off the board through a wire back onto the board, and then so whenever you tie those two together, you make it where it's sending it directly to those. Just basically, whenever the power goes off the board, you have the potential for it to lose, have resistance and cause a problem. And then, of course, put a new filter capacitor. We reflowed all the connectors. And that's about all we got to do. Oh, we tested all of the transistors. Everything was fine. This one, and also the ones in the high voltage display. You could replace this. Sometimes those are a little iffy. They get a little spot in them where they don't work right. But I don't think we're even going to use any of this high voltage stuff. But that one tests fine. So, but if you're doing this for one that you're leaving displays in, you might want to replace that pot if you've got that old one still on your board. So this one is ready to be tested back in the game. So we'll pop it back in there and see if we're getting our test voltages right. Okay, so we put it back in the machine. We turned it back on. Now remember, so I just took the MPU board out, but it wasn't plugged up. We've also got the power disconnected from the lamp board. And the reason that you do that is in case this thing isn't making 5 volts, it's making 12 volts or something like that. If it sends 12 volts over to the IC chips on the other boards, it'll fry them. So the sound board's unplugged, the light board's unplugged, the displays are unplugged, and the MPU's unplugged. So we're going to test it. First, this top test point is the voltage coming in. So it's 14.7 is coming in. And then this regulator here is making 5.3. Nice and stiff, like we like it. And then test point 3 we have tied to it. Same thing. And then over here, the voltage for the displays coming in is 250 something. And going out is 176. So yeah, the board's making all the voltages the proper way. So the next thing that we have to do is work on that freaking MPU board. So we're going to go check it out and see what we can figure out. Okay folks, this is the MPU out of it, and it's in pretty rough shape, but it's in better shape than that one we did recently on the Stingray. I don't know if I've uploaded that video for y'all by the time this video comes out, but it's kind of rough, but this one is in, like I said, in better shape than the other one. The problem is though, so this is the early Bally board, and the problem is the sockets suck on these things. I don't know about those brown ones. I mean, they don't look that great to me. But these ones here that say all GAT, these are known for sucking. Horrible sockets. It has something to do with the way it holds the pins. It just isn't all that great. So if you got those, usually you have to replace them. And the reason that you have to replace them is because they have intermittent problems. So you know, the leg will be making electrical connectivity for a little while, and then it decides that it isn't. And so your board stops working, and then you have to figure out what the problem is. It's just they're just not reliable. So we're probably going to have to replace all 3 of these sockets, which is why these early ones suck working on. Somebody has replaced this socket too. Of course, all this needs to be redone, but so I could just buy a new board, but they're about $200, and I've already spent $250 for a back glass, a little over $100 for displays, and then all the time and stuff that I'm putting into it. So I could spend another $200 on the back glass, but then we're getting up there a little bit on what we're in the machine, you know, so we really need to make a pretty good profit on it to cover the time, which means that we are going to end up putting even more time into fixing this board. Right? So I got to clean all this corrosion off. This is from, of course, the battery leaking. I got to clean all this alkaline damage off, get it as shiny as possible, and then replace all of these parts around the bottom that are screwed up. And it looks really rough, but it's not quite, like I said, it's not as bad as the last one I did. So it's not all that bad. It's not even up to this U7, which is where the 6810 RAM goes. And it looks like it didn't get up to this socket, even though I'm going to replace it anyway. So you know, the bottom 1.5 inches there is messed up. And then on the back, it's pretty much just the outside trace there at the bottom, and then just a couple traces here going to the RAM. So it's not that crazy. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start sanding some of this corrosion off. I'm going to use a file on it, and then I'm going to use sandpaper on it. And then I'm also going to start taking these components off that will be replaced. This socket needs to go. And trying to clean it up a little bit. And then we'll see if we can get it to where it's a good starting point to rebuild and put a board together. There's the CPU is missing, both of the PIAs are missing, both of the ROMs are missing, which is fine. The 6810 RAM's missing, and the 5101 RAM is missing. So it needs a little help. So I'll start taking stuff off, and let's see what kind of shape we can get it into. So this is what we got after the first good scraping. Got a lot of the loose surfaced grime off. The back looks a lot better than the front. So all the loose stuff is off. So now I'm going to start taking each component off of the bottom a little bit. And then once we get it down to where it's just the traces and things, I can actually sand it and get it even cleaner, get rid of this green and stuff, hopefully. So I'll start taking all that stuff off. Okay, so I got it nice and shiny. I think I got all of the badness off. Cleaned it up. Clean, 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 clean. The hardest part is sometimes whenever you take the pieces off, the legs break off and stuff, and then they're stuck in the hole, so you have to get that as clean as possible. This one, since it wasn't as bad, I was able to get it a lot cleaner than I was able to get the last two that I worked on. A little bit of damage down here where it's broken. So we'll probably still have to put a couple jumpers on it. You can put wires and stuff, but I like just using cap legs and stuff. And then, so I'm going to put vinegar on it with a toothbrush, and then I'm going to put rubbing alcohol on it. Then I'm going to rinse off the vinegar. Then I'm going to put rubbing alcohol on it to make the water evaporate a little bit quicker. And we'll see what it looks like after it's all nice and shiny. And then I'll start putting the stuff back. And I'm probably still going to have to replace these 3 sockets at least, and maybe these as well. Alright folks, this is how it looked cleaned up. Very nice. Almost has a marbleized look. Soon it'll be an oxidized look. So, just like I've done on the other ones, if you've ever seen it, if you go to GreatPlainsElectronics.com, he used to sell these little kits of all the stuff you need to fix them. And he's out of the kits, but he still has the paperwork online, and I don't believe he minds us using it. So basically, this tells everything. That tells you everything that needs to be replaced. And he's got this handy little map of the board. All this is in your schematics too, but his little instructions make it very easy. Thank you, Ed. We appreciate it. And depending on when you see this video, go check on Great Plains Electronics, see if he has any of these kits back in stock. I don't know if he plans on making any more. If you can't get them there, you can get them at Big Daddy. Is it Big Daddy Electronics? I think is the name of it. The pinball guy who also does pinball stuff. He has kits too. So they're real cheap. They're like $10 or $15, something like that. But it's all the stuff to replace all the stuff on the bottom of the board that gets damaged by the alkaline corrosion. So we're going to start putting stuff back as detailed on the thing. Go through there. I'm going to do it all pretty quick because I'm trying to get all of the board videos on one video. So I'm going to go ahead and repopulate all that stuff, and we'll see what it looks like after that. Alright, here's what we ended up with. I keep having to put these are 0.1 0.1 microfarad capacitors. I need to order some that are smaller. These are like 2,000 volts and you only need 50 volts. But we're getting them in there, right? So we've got everything repopulated. Now, whenever you do these, you really need... Here's where you're going to have the problems. These traces that go down and they go through the board with the via, you know. So these 4 here, these 2 here, and then over here, there's a couple right down here. And so those are really easy for that to get all corroded and ate up to where it no longer connects through both sides of the board. And so once it does that, you lose that address line or whatever it is going to this RAM chip. And so you'll usually get, I think if this one's messed up, you only get 2 blinks. So, but yeah, we got that. And then on the back, on this one, none of those traces were messed up, so that was good. Got everything back in, looking pretty good. So now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start swapping sockets so I can get it a little more reliable. and then we're ready to test it out once I get all the chips repopulated on it. Alright folks, so I replaced the 3 sockets. I put in 3, this is a 6800, these are 6821s. I've got a bunch of those. Over the years I've had a bunch of these MPU boards that had acid damage and stuff, so these are chips that I had laying around off of some of those. This is a 6810, this is a 5101, which is this is the RAM, and this is the memory that holds the high scores. I haven't put a battery on it yet. The 2 ROM chips that go here are game specific, of course. That's what makes it a Lost World instead of a Knight Rider or whatever. So I need to burn those. I actually have a bunch of those old proms that go in there. They're not super reliable. If you can upgrade them, it's probably a good idea. But I don't have the old ones, so I need to burn some. For whatever reason, this board was in the cabinet with all the chips missing. Somebody had scavenged all the chips because they thought we wouldn't be able to fix this board. I see what they did. They had abandoned this baby. Alright, so we're going to burn 2 new ROMs, and then I have to change the straps. So there's these little, and you've probably seen this before, I've been over on other boards. There's these little jumpers. So E4 is connected to E3 right now, but it's not connected to E5 with the little jumper. And over here, E7 and E6 are connected. Down here, E1 and E2 are connected. Sometimes one of these may not be, you know, it just depends on how it's set up. And what that does is it sends power and address lines to different pins on this row of sockets here. So it's how you can tell it what type of socket, what type of chip is in the socket. So it could be a 2732, a 2716, a 2532. It may do 2516, I don't know, or the original proms. So those jumpers are things that it needs to tell that. I said 2732, but I don't think it will actually work with those with just the jumpers. You have to do some modifications, so we might have to do that to this. So I'm going to go check that all out. Again, I'm getting almost all of this information from pinrepair.com, Clay's site. He does a great job on these and knows all about it, and so I always refer back to that. And I've done that over the years. Anytime that we're working on a MPU, I always check his out. I think you can go to pinwiki.com as well. I don't know how in-depth theirs is yet, but they were meaning to make that the place to go for pinball information. So, but I'm going to go do some reading and see what kind of files I need for here, and what kind of chip I need to burn them on, and then what kind of jumpers I need to set. I was going to think about replacing these brown sockets too, but they actually look pretty decent. It's a double wipe socket, so that's actually a decent looking socket. I'm not so sure that needs changed. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to wing it. Now these I did go ahead and change because them things are horrible. Just the way they work isn't all that great, so we're going to leave the brown ones for now unless they don't work, and we swap those 3. I hate swapping a bunch without the board being tested, because if I screwed up one of those pins, 40, 80, 120, 22, 142 pins I've changed on this thing. If one of those isn't right, it won't work. So I hate doing them all at once. It'd be better if you could do just this socket and then try it back out and see if it's up and running. Then you know, if it doesn't, then you know you screwed something up on this socket. You know where to look. But if it's screwed up now, I'm not going to know where to look. I'm going to have to just look at everything. But I'll go research those ROMs. Okay, so we're on pinrepair.com. This is the mod that we're doing. We're trying to make it where it will take a 2732 EEPROM at U2 and at U6, because the old ones were those masked ROMs that we don't have, and we don't have the ability to burn. And so a slightly more modern, but not crazy more modern, was a 2732. Now, looking it all up, it looks like U1, U2, and U6 originally had proms in them. So those are gone, and we're going to put a EEPROM, a 2732 in U2 and U6, which will make it a Lost World. So you have to do all these little hacks, basically, little jumpers and stuff. So I did that. So let me show you what I did. So here is our board. I was looking on pinrepair.com, like I was saying, and he's saying these brown sockets are horrible, but he was showing these, which he was calling a closed socket. That little top piece comes off, and it turns it into what these are. So I don't know. These look like good sockets to me, but we'll find out. They may be horrible. It might be the most horrible thing ever. Okay, so I put I burned new EPROMs. I had to change this jumper, and then there was a bunch of little stuff I had to do. I had to cut a little trace there. I had to cut a little trace there. And then on the back, on the one socket, I had to cut two traces or one trace and put a jumper wire and then jumper that socket up here to the CPU. And then I also had to run a line down so that it grabbed the same pin on this one, and I had to put a jumper on this one and cut a trace. So, some minor little hacks. And then there was a couple little hacks over here. I had to cut two traces and join them together. But hey, I think we're good. I also put a battery on it. I'm trying these now, little button batteries, because I think it'll be easier for people to replace those and they don't leak. You can put a remote battery holder on it too. And I think you can put, you might be able to put an NVRAM solution, non-volatile RAM, that doesn't need a battery. But I haven't done that yet. Maybe on the next one. What do you think about that? Maybe on the next one we'll do that. Okay, so everything looks good, but I haven't even tested it yet. And I don't know if any of these chips are good. So we're going to put it in the game and try to turn it on and see if we get any kind of results. All right, so we've got it mounted up in there. So I've just plugged in the power. And I've got the two power connectors over here. So basically we're watching this little LED at the bottom, and we want to get a flicker and then 7 flashes. Now I know that sounds a lot like 8 flashes, but it's not. The flicker is just basically like a reset thing. And then after the flicker you get a nice 7 flashes, right? So let's turn it on. So the flashes, depending on how many you get, it tells you what's wrong with the board. So let's see what we got. Flicker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So basically, it seems to be working. Not bad, people. What do you think? Okay, so I'll plug everything else in, and we'll see if we get any of the lights working or anything, because the light board would be the next board that we have to work on. Okay, so I didn't plug the soundboard in because usually those just make a bunch of noise until you get them working. And so whenever you turn it on, the light board, the only 4 lights it's lighting up are the 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the bonus ladder. It doesn't light up any of the controlled lights on the back box. So I think something is definitely going on with that that lamp board. So I'm going to pull it out and we'll take a look at it. I don't know if it's just bad solder or if it's what the deal is. I don't have a display yet either, so I can't tell if the displays are working or if it could be that the game's coming up and crashing or something. It comes up to 4 and then just stops. It stays like that, but it does it immediately. So, and if I hit the test switch, nothing changes. So I don't know if we're in test or if we're running or if we're not running or what's going on. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go get a display, I think, and plug it in and see if we can get something on the display that I help us understand if we're even up and running. All right, folks, I figured it out. So whenever I was redoing it, I broke the capacitor at C16, which has to do with some of the timing and stuff. This is a 555 timer, and I had replaced some of these with these 0.01 microfarad capacitors, and I mistakenly thought that was the same one, but it's not. That's a 0.1 microfarad capacitor. So I swapped it to the correct capacitor, and the game boots up now. So it's running its thing. About half the light bulbs I think are burnt out because we haven't replaced them on the playfield yet. And I put in just a parts display that's got a bunch of burn in it, but it is actually up and displaying. The game is working. We got the lights blinking on and off that are supposed to. So we're getting there. Now we're going to make some displays. So I'm just using that one as a test one. But the next thing that we need to do is work all the light bulbs. So I'm going to replace all the light bulbs on the bottom of the playfield, and then we'll see if we can get into test and test them all. Yeah, so we're in test there, and not very many of them are working. On the front here, I replaced all of these.
How you doing?
The only one that's not working is the one player down here. That socket feels a little weird. It's probably just a bad bulb or something. But so the lamps are next, so I'll start replacing them under the playfield. Okay, guys and girls, we're on the downward slope here. I mean towards the beautiful finish line. So I replaced all the light bulbs in the entire machine, and all of them were working except two. And so I looked on the schematics, and it was Q7 and Q53. And testing Q7 and Q53, both of these suckers were bad. Both of them. Look at it. Crap. Look at that. Crap. You can't even get stuff to last past 40 years anymore. So I replaced them with two that I got off of this parts board that you may recognize from our Stingray that we were just messing with. Saved that 5 cents. So I put them in. They test fine. And so that's pretty good, really. I mean, every bulb worked but two of them. And one of them, it was because the tab was bent over and grounding itself out, so it probably fried the transistor or something. So I'm gonna put this back in, and we'll see how it looks, and then we're about ready to mess with the soundboard. Look how beautiful it's getting. Look at this. Even the roll-up lights up at the top. Man, it's starting to get amazing. All the ones on the front. That one I was talking about over there was just because we hadn't changed the bulb yet. All right. So it was in pretty good shape. I resoldered the connectors and replaced those two transistors. No problems. So now we're down to the soundboard. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to plug in the soundboard and see what that does. Of course, with the power off. The speaker in the bottom looked pretty bad to me, so I think the speaker has issues. But we'll see. We'll see if we can get a peep out of this thing. Okay, so I've got the I'm in sound test right now. It should be sounding. It's not sounding. You know, you want to be careful when you're doing crap like this. That's bad. Don't touch that. It won't kill you, but it will shock the hell out of you, right? But on the amp, if you rub the amp, if the amp is working, you'll get sound. So you'll hear like a hum, boo, something like that. I'm getting nothing, which I think is probably because the speaker is messed up. So I'll show you how we can check it. These are the schematics of the soundboard, and there's a little 2-pin connector, pin number 1 and pin number 2, go out to an 8 ohm speaker. That's the speaker in the bottom. So you can take your multimeter and that little plug with the 2 pins, you can just check resistance from here to here, and you'll get the resistance, which isn't the same as the impedance. It's not the same thing, but you can measure the resistance, and if it's anything near 8 ohms, you're good. But it's probably going to be infinite because the wire has broke off the cone, or the speaker coils went bad or something. But if it does that, like on this particular one, there's holes in the speaker cone, so I know it's bad, right? But sometimes they'll still work if they're like that. But that's how you can tell if yours is any good. Just check the resistance across the terminals and see if it's anywhere near what the ohms are supposed to be. It's not quite the same thing, which you'll notice if you read the comments below. So this is what was in it. So we put a new cheapo speaker in it. You want to try to match the impedance if you can. So you want to try to put an 8 ohm in there. If you put a different ohm impedance in there, it'll be slightly off, and the amp might not like that. So go for an 8 ohmer if that's what it had in there originally. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back on and see if we get a peep out of it now. Okay, folks, I'm going to let you see and hear what Dr. Frankenstein must have seen and heard back in the day. It's alive! Alright, so that's obviously the soundboard test. Now on these there is this knob that you can turn to change the pitch. Or that's the sustain, I guess. So all the way down. Let's go all the way the other way. This is going to be horrible, but people. So you kind of got to get in between. Some of them, though, that's called the sustain adjustment. Some of them have a pitch adjustment. What do you think? All right, so we're going to go through the tests. I'll show you where we're at. I can't see the test number because we don't have the ball and play display in yet. Okay, it's going to boot up. Very cool. Okay, so I'll show you the different test modes real quick. So what was the first thing we fixed? Remember, we did the power supply, and then we did the rectifier board. I still need to put a pinball over there. We did the transformer and the rectifier board, and then we did the power supply and the solenoid board, which creates the 5 volts, which is what is running the CPU, which is running. That's how all of the lights are twinkling and doing their thing and moving and animating. And then, so we got the CPU up and running, and then we were testing to see if the displays work, right? And if the lamps work. So there's the lamp test. All of the bulbs are working. And then the next one is the display test. We only have that one display. Our next video is that we're going to be making brand new displays for Bally games, also Stern games, 6-digit Bally and Stern displays. And we're going to put them together out of a kit. Won't that be fun? We already did one of those for Williams games. It was pretty cool. But this game's getting all new displays. So but the display in it is working, which means that the MPU, which sends the signal to the display, is working, or at least enough to do the first player one. And so then after that, I also worked under the playfield, and so we're going to test all the solenoids. That's the next test. Okay, so they're all working, and this is the sound test. It's working. Unknown caller. Okay, so now we're in some of the settings, which you can't tell because the right, this is probably the switch test actually, but it displays on the ball and display. Now this is the first high score. So if you put it on 10,000. It makes it where you win a free game every time. You know, every time you score 10,000 points, you win a free game. So that's one way people put it on free play. when I burnt those ROMs earlier, I burnt free play ROMs for it though, so it's on free play by the dip switches. But the first replay should be 210,000 points. All right. Second replay should be 430,000 points. All right. Third replay level we're not going to set. And these are like all the how many coins have been in it and all this stuff, which is all zeroed out because we haven't actually played any games yet. And then after you get to about setting 11 or something, it resets. It goes back into gameplay. All right, so we have got all the boards working. We even have one of the displays working, even though it's all burnt. You probably can't tell on the camera. This is what happens when you run it at too high of a voltage for too long. It scorches, especially those two there because they light up more often. So it shows the high score. By the way, that little light there is normal. That's the filament voltage. It's just always there. But the half the time it shows the high score, and then half the time it shows double zeros. So those two zeros get burnt. Man, they get burnt. So it's just an old display with an old glass. It's actually still working, but it needs a new glass. A new glass is like $60 a piece now, because they're all new old stock. I don't even think they make them new anymore. But they make this cool little kit that's like $115, $120, and we're going to put it in there. But I think we're up and running. I guess I could try to coin it up. Will it coin up? That's what it sounds like when it coins up. Do I have a pinball? Can a brother get a pinball? A brother got a pinball. Let's see if it'll start. Is there anything more satisfying than the damn ball going from there to there? God, one of the greatest things in the pinball world, right? They tweeting the crap. They're texting the crap out of me. They must have heard me. So we're on 0. Let's see if any of this thing will score. Whoa, failure to launch. That'll do it. It's about like when I'm actually playing. Got 1,100 points. I'm going to try to hit it. Yeah! Give me them points. Beat up the banks. 45-30. All right, folks. Looks like we've got her up and running. And like I said, we're on the downhill slope. Don't you just love the sound of that ball rolling around? That's wood, people. What? Still have all my fingers. I thought it bit me. So why did it go da da da? It's because I set the world record. So if you set the world record on this game, you get 3 free games. So that was me winning 3 credits because look at this. That's right. I scored 6,340 points. Beat that, suckers. Beat that. All right, so there you go. So I think that'll do it for this video. We'll shoot another one tomorrow, though, of us doing the displays. And then we're going to run these all 1 week. And we're going to fix the game all in 1 week. And it's going to be video after video, all week long. And then we're going to go out a hero. We're going to bring this thing from 0 to hero. What do you think? I think we're about 75% of the way there. But leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think so far. Is it exciting to see it come back this far? Do you enjoy seeing us save these old games? Now remember what this thing looked like, people. Now you remember when we brought it in, it was laying on the floor like a pile of trash, right? No back glass, still doesn't have a back glass. No displays, still doesn't have any displays. Old alkaline damaged MPU in it with no ROMs or anything in it. brought that back. That was pretty phenomenal. Everything's screwed up, and now we've got it up where you can actually play a game. So much so that people are violently, furiously texting me for the opportunity to come over and play this thing, right? But leave your comments below. Let us know what you think so far. If you're enjoying the series or not, let us know where you're from. We've been trying to shout people out. We keep having people let us know where they're from. We had a gentleman just the other day tell us. Now, by the way, whenever I film these videos, I'm way ahead of y'all. I'm months ahead. So if you're watching this video, I probably filmed it 2 months ago. Because that's how we roll. Just in case, whenever this virus thing popped off, didn't bother me. I had like 15 videos already filmed. I just uploaded the stuff I'd already filmed, right? But didn't bother me in that way. It bothered me in other ways, of course, but you know what I mean. We're prepared, people. We're properly prepared. So we had a gentleman the other day, which was probably a couple months ago by the time this comes out, tell us that he was from West Virginia, and I was born in Canal City, West Virginia, and grew up as a kid in the west side of Charleston, West Virginia. So shout out to him. We see you up there. We had another gentleman from Hickory. Want us to mention him. We see you over there in Hickory. That was me playing with the pedal under the game. So let us know where you're from, and we'll try to give you a shout out if we remember. If we don't remember, just keep mentioning it, right? And to the guy that kept wanting us to show him how the tilt works, we saw you saying all that too. The Stingray video, I don't know if it's up. I think I already uploaded those. I'd say, again, I don't know because I've already filmed it, but I haven't uploaded them yet. But by the time this comes out, the Stingray video ought to be out. We showed it in detail on that. So check out the Stingray video if you're still wondering how the tilt works. But leave your comments below. We have an Amazon link down below. If you click on that Amazon link, you don't have to buy anything in particular or sign up for anything. But if you find yourself wanting to buy something on Amazon, if you simply click our link before you do that, and just do it the way you normally do, sign into your account or whatever, but click our link first, it tells Amazon, hey, these people were sent there by Joe's Video Games, Lions Arcade. Let's give them some of our profit. So they don't raise your prices or anything, but they send us a piece of Amazon's money. And I love nothing more than spending Jeff Bezos' money. Man, that's awesome. I can't believe he lets us do it. But yet he does. And he's a man of his word. He seems to pay us every time somebody does that. So it's very, very refreshing. So we've had people on there buying all kinds of cool stuff. We had a gentleman earlier buy an Acer laptop. We appreciate that, whoever did that. Very cool. But you don't have to buy anything expensive. People have been buying just little things. We actually did have some people buy some face masks. That's cool. Everything's cool. It's all copacetic, people. They pay us like a percentage of anything anybody buys, and it doesn't have to be something that we suggested. And I don't believe if it's something that we did suggest, like we've put up some links to some of our tools that we use and things like that. I don't believe they pay us any more for that. And I think it's all different for everything, but I think it averages out to 3 or 4% of an item. So that's very cool, people. We appreciate it. Everybody that's been doing that, thank you, thank you, thank you. We see you out there, and we appreciate you thinking of us. We also have, which you may have seen, a second channel now, and it has nothing to do with arcade games or pinball machines. So if that's all you're interested in, you will be sorely disappointed by our other channel. It's mainly about my brother Donnie, and it's called, the name of the channel is, very creative. Are you ready for this? It's called My Brother Donnie. So if you go find that, usually we put a link down below the videos. Me and him and I are working on rehabbing this old mobile home that we bought right now, and the thing is completely destroyed. Just about as bad as this pinball was when we started with it. So go over there and check it out. I'm over there a little bit on his channel, and he gets into all kinds of crazy stuff. He does a lot of like small engine repair and hillbilly hacks, things like that. So if you like hillbilly hacks, you'll love his channel. He's really good at it. So leave your comments below. Give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. I always have a rag with me. There's still some dust around on this, people. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think, and we will see you on the next video, which, hey, will be tomorrow. See you then.